Hi, my name is Breezy, and I'm a 41-year-old single mom from Los Angeles. I want to tell my story because I need Southwest Airlines to be held accountable for their passenger misconduct, false accusation, and traumatizing experience that they put me through on Monday, August 6th on Flight 793 from Burbank to Las Vegas. After choosing to sit in the first row, middle seat, while buckling my seatbelt, my magazine falls to the floor. The woman sitting to my left by the window uses her foot to push my magazine towards me. After thanking her for helping me, that's when my normal flight turned into my nightmare. The woman physically grabs my magazine from my hands and starts screaming at me that I'm trying to steal her magazine. I calmly tried to explain to her that I had just purchased this from the airport store when she starts yelling louder that I'm a crazy liar and a thief. At one point, I literally asked her if she was joking because I couldn't believe what was really happening. This is when she starts yelling to her husband, who was seated across the aisle in one row back, that I'm a crazy liar trying to steal her magazine. She continues to escalate this ridiculous scene, and that's when flight attendant Kimberly, badge number 121439, comes over to find out what's going on. Before I have a chance to say a word, the woman continues to throw accusations about me. Without asking me what happened, Kimberly tells me that she's moving my seat. I asked her why, because I had done nothing wrong, and she said because I was the last one to be seated in that row, I had to move my seat, otherwise I would be kicked off of the flight. So naturally I got up because all I know is what I see on TV when people refuse to move seats and the violence that occurs. So being a single mom, I have way too much to lose to argue with her. While trying to get my purse from the overhead compartment, which happens to be above her husband, he yells at me and demands that I show him my receipt. And here is the infamous receipt that proves this was my magazine. I start to follow a different attendant towards the back of the plane when Kimberly forcefully grabs my left arm and tells me that I'm going to be removed from the flight. Literally, as tears fill my eyes, I'm in complete shock and disbelief that this is actually happening to me. Kimberly intended to take advantage of the vulnerable passenger rather than the two people who should have actually been removed from the flight. Meanwhile, the family that was sitting behind us kept trying to tell Kimberly that the woman's magazine was on the floor underneath her seat where it had been this entire time. I tell Kimberly this, thinking everything will be okay, and she looks at me and her response is, "I don't care." I reach down to grab the woman's magazine that's under her seat, hand it to her, hoping to get an apology or at least some sort of misunderstanding, but instead with a smirk, I get, "Yeah, that's my magazine," as if she knew what she was doing this entire time. I'm escorted off the plane, and I try to tell the ground attendant my side of the story when I start to cry uncontrollably, not knowing if I was going to be arrested or something worse. The ground attendant agrees that the situation wasn't handled fairly, and when she asked Kimberly and Captain Sean, badge number 57749, if I could reboard, I was deemed dangerous. Dangerous? What did I do to be considered dangerous? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't get upset. I was completely compliant. But Kimberly abused her position of power and disrespected, mistreated, humiliated me, and took my rights from me. Admittedly, the ground crew didn't think I was dangerous because they booked me on the following flight out. I've never been in trouble with the law, let alone ever have a problem on an airplane. During my 4-day work trip, I was unable to concentrate. I was extremely emotional, continued to cry, and nearly had a panic attack on my return flight. So since when does stepping foot on an airplane make you automatically lose your rights? I chose to fly with Southwest, which I'll never do again. And after putting my story out there on Facebook and Instagram, I know I'm not alone. If something like this can happen to a friendly, kind, and loving single mom who is just minding her own business, it can and will happen to anyone. It's time to hold Southwest and any other airline who mistreats innocent passengers accountable for their injustices. So please, let's stand together and forward this to as many people as possible. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. It means a lot to me.